Hey everybody, it's Jay here from the Law Firm Blueprint, and I'm so glad to be with you today. And what I want to do is do something a little different this week in the Law Firm Blueprint, and that is provide you with an interview that Seth did offline with Mike Morse. Mike is a phenomenal, very scaled personal injury lawyer out of Michigan. And Seth was able to sit down with him and have a one-on-one conversation talking all about growing the firm, talking about using and looking at your firm as a business. And so we thought it'd be a great opportunity for us to share this with people in the Law Firm Blueprint so that you can get an idea of what it took one person to scale. Some of you may have read Mike's book, Fireproof. That's about the story of him scaling his firm. And that's what we want to do here at the Law Firm Blueprint. We don't want to just be two talking heads on a podcast with a Facebook group. We want to make sure that we're giving you new and exciting stuff that you can use every week. So stay tuned. We're going to have the interview with Mike Morse. And then next week, we're going to have a 30-minute or so presentation all about onboarding your team members, onboarding your attorneys, onboarding your staff, and how really onboarding starts with the job placement ad, the wanted ad. So we're bringing you some different stuff this week in the Law Firm Blueprint, and in the coming weeks, we'll go back to having the one-on-one with Seth and myself, but we're going to try to mix it up here, give you more. So if there's anything that you want to see here in the Law Firm Blueprint, please let us know. But for now, enjoy this interview with Seth and Mike Morse.
Welcome, everyone. We are thrilled to have Mike Morse here from the Mike Morse Law Firm and Fireproof. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Seth.
So, Mike, in addition to running an awesome regional law firm, you have created a coaching and development program, Fireproof, the best-selling book, and now a coaching program leveraging EOS and the book Traction into your book, Fireproof. Watching from afar what you've created, and now personally working with your guru, John Knox-Hazel, to work with my own firm, Price Benowitz, has been just an awesome experience. But take us back. I mean, what you've created, this juggernaut, didn't happen overnight. What are some of the sort of seminal moments or decisions you made along the way that put you in the position to create the firm you have today?
It's a very good question. Taking me to that, that's a really good question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. The decision for me was, I had mentors, and I was smart enough to eventually hire a coach because I heard these business ideas, and something in the back of my brain said, you're never going to get bigger than 30 people if you don't treat this law firm like a business. I remember hearing, your law firm is a business. I said, no, it's not. It's a law firm. Like, I really didn't get it, Seth. I really didn't get it. And then one day I got it. And I said, give me as much business knowledge. And then I started implementing little things. I'm like, holy crap, this stuff really works. So it was a little bit gradual. I had somebody introduce, I had my father-in-law was my first mentor, very, very smart businessman, not a lawyer. And I remember having lunch with him 20 years ago. And he'd say simple questions, Seth. He'd say, how many signups did you have last week? I didn't know. Well, how much money did you bring in last week? I don't know. Well, how much are you going to bring in this year? And he would ask me questions that I knew in my heart I should have known, but I didn't know. And I was embarrassed. And so that was like my first entree that there's more to it than this. And then I got a business coach, Gino Wickman. I'm still with Gino Wickman 15 years later. I believe in coaching. And, now that I have been with John for 14 years, it's been incredible. He's dialed me in like he's dialing you in. He's introducing me to new concepts with data and leadership and management every day. And it's just been a whirlwind. But once I made that decision that you asked about, my firm went from 30 people to 150, 60 people, 17 million in settlements to 160 million. Within 5 or 6 short years. And I mean, that might sound like a long time to some short, but to me, it was like a rocket.
In 5 or 6 years, you made that jump.
Yes, because of the principles in the book, the principles in Traction, the principles that, none of this stuff in Fireproof is new. It's my spin on Traction for lawyers. It's my personal story and John's story. And yes, for me, it was just a rock. It was rocket fuel, as Gino would say.
Right. And some of it is, and I think John will tell you that it's a plan. Is it the best plan? Worst plan? Don't know, but you had a plan, you stuck with it, and it did. It's just a pretty good plan. But one of the things when you're in the trenches, you know, a law school professor talking about seeing the forest through the trees, that sometimes it's really tough. There's so many things, you're playing whack-a-mole, especially if you have trial responsibilities, you know, have HR responsibilities, there's oversight of the accounting, and all these different components coming together. You know, where does somebody start? Like, what's a good starting point when you're like, okay, I'm running a law firm, I'm not running a business. I mean, it is a business, but you're running it, and you have those embarrassing moments where you don't know off the top of your head number of signups or revenue per week or month. What are some of the first few steps that somebody should take?
Chapter 1 of our Fireproof book is Know Thyself. So when I first met Gino, I was doing everything, and I was just a jack of all trades, but I was doing nothing great. I was just doing everything from finding the space to hiring, to signing up the clients, to doing every deposition, every trial, giving the clients the checks, on and on and on. And what I learned was that you can't run a good law firm and do everything. So you're either the visionary / CEO / entrepreneur, or you're the manager / COO / integrator who likes the nitty gritty, who likes reading those long contracts and emails, who likes making sure the trains are on time and that everybody's doing what they need to do. I'm obviously a visionary. I'm the CEO. I had to figure out what that meant. Never heard those terms before, especially used in a law firm setting. I never heard the term visionary until Gino introduced me to it. And then once he basically tested it on me and to see if I was his first law firm he ever worked with, to see if I truly was a visionary. He said, okay, these are the 5 or 6 or 7 things you should be working on, and that's it. And I offloaded 100% of the other stuff. Now, not overnight, but within the first day of meeting Gino, I offloaded 50% of my work. And then my brain was able to free up. I had a team in place that was able to take some of my ideas and implement them. So if you said to me, Michael, first step is knowing yourself and figuring out what you should be doing in your law firm. And I'm telling you right now, for any entrepreneurial lawyers watching this, listening to this, it's not everything. You have to pick your things and you have to delegate the rest. And that may sound simple, that may sound hard, it doesn't matter. We've now coached over 50 law firms, and I'll tell you that every single lawyer we originally meet is doing too much. I have not met a lawyer who's where I'm at, who's just working in their sweet spot. I've not met that person out of the gate. But once they get there, what I'm seeing is scale. What I'm seeing is scaling. I'm seeing more money. I'm seeing more happiness. I'm seeing more money, more growth. So it's to answer your question, that's step 1.
So of that, when you're deciding, you have X number of things on your plate, what determines what comes off? Is it what you like, what you're good at, what you're not good at? Like, how do you determine and the order of removal?
So we have a system that we take people through. We make them write out what they do in a general week. And to make it short and simple for your listeners, ideally, you want to be doing only things that you love to do and you're great at. And I've had lots of lawyers say to me, easier said than done. I thought it was easier said than done, and it took me years to get there. But I'm there. I've been there for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And I'll tell you that it's really special. It really is a game changer in my life. I mean, imagine I don't take meetings. I don't take lunches. I don't take appointments. I don't take a project on unless I love to do it. I love the project. I love the people I'm working at, and I'm great at it. So I say no a lot more. I'll say, you know, if somebody asks, even like for a podcast, if I don't like the podcast, if I don't like the host,
I'm honored that you're here.
I say, no, thank you. I don't say it like a jerk, but I'm literally doing things that I love to do and I'm great at. And that's my goal, is to teach every lawyer in this country, in this world who will listen, is that truly is the way. And the craziest part, Seth, is when you're working in your sweet spot, not only do you have more freedom, but you're going to make more money. You're going to be happier. You're going to live longer, I'm sure. And more things come to you. More things are attracted to you because you're just walking around happy with less stress and less tension. And I live it, so I know it's possible. You do not need to be a workaholic. You do not need to do things you don't want to do. And obviously, I'm not talking to a guy or gal who's been doing this for a year or two, right? As a lawyer, I have young lawyers who come to me and say, I want to be like you. For 20 plus years, I busted my butt and I did a lot. So, but I wish I didn't wait 20 years. I wish 3, 4, 5 years I was introduced to these concepts. I would have been much further along than I am.
Okay. But something that we've seen, and I co-host a podcast with Jay Ruin on LawFirm growth, which we get people and they're much smaller trying to build. And something Jay gets a lot is you see somebody who's not being particularly successful for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Their net is nominal. When you talk about that, are only certain people cut out to be the visionary? Are there other people that should get 6, 7 figures for working within somebody else's system? What's your thought on that?
So you could absolutely go out there and find a CEO or visionary to run your law firm. I've seen people do it. It's rare because usually it's the owner, it's you or me.
And I wasn't talking that, but just the idea that you shouldn't be in that role. Are there people that's defined? You did this for 20 years, got all these different skill sets, and then put it together. You wish you did it earlier, but are certain people destined for it and certain people not, or is everybody eligible for it?
I don't think everybody's eligible for it, truly. I've never been asked that question, but I know that Gino in one of his books, I don't know if it's Entrepreneurial Leap, but he's got tests. You could take a visionary test to see if you're a visionary. John Knockhazel is not a visionary. He would fail at that test. I would fail at the COO integrator test. So, and I think, Gino, the statistic is like 1%, 1.5% are true visionaries, true entrepreneurs. And so if you're not somebody who's coming up with 10 new ideas a day, if you're not somebody who can really convince their clients or big relationships to do what they want, who holds those big relationships, who loves to learn and read, and who's never satisfied no matter how much money they earn or how much success they have. Those are just a few of the examples of a true visionary that fit me like a glove. I believe they fit you pretty well too. And you're a visionary. And so if somebody thinks they're a visionary, but those things don't apply to them, then they're not a visionary. They shouldn't pretend to be a visionary, and they should go and run the law firm, manage the law firm, and find somebody in the firm, hopefully, who's got those great ideas, who can position that firm for greatness, who can go out there and bring in the new business, who could figure out how to make it all work. But it's not every 98 out of 100 lawyers can't be aren't true visionaries. Some of them try. And yeah, can a good coach try to bring them up? Yeah. But if it's not natural, I think that person's gonna get stuck.
So one of the things that I see a lot is people, and I see that within my own world and outside my own world, people have trouble giving up control of different areas. You were talking about you gave up, a lot of stuff came off your plate. And Andrew Finkelstein, a friend of the show, a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, he was saying that you have to sort of get used to comfortable with the idea of mediocrity. What is your feeling on that? I mean, is there, you could do things better than, at least to start with the people you dish stuff off to. Maybe over time they're better, but what's your thought on that?
I'm a big fan of Andrew Finkelstein, so I'm never going to go against him. I don't look at it as mediocrity. Of course, I did this in one of my last speeches. I said, how many people in this room think that nobody in your firm could do it anywhere near as good as you? Something. And everybody's hand went up, right? Mine were trials, negotiating with adjusters, talking to clients. And I had to come to realization that there are people better than me at certain things. So you have to have some humbleness, right? You got to check your ego a little bit at the door. And I have some very good stories about people who I've hired. One woman who's still with me 19 years later, who's better than me on the phone. She's more empathetic. She's more caring. She's more loving. She's more patient. And all she does every day is deal with my clients' issues and problems. I didn't want to do it anymore. She's been with me 19 years. So that's one example. She's better than me. I have better lawyer. I will say I have better lawyers at my firm who can do certain things. Maybe they write better. Maybe they do a better deposition. Maybe they even try a case as good as me or as well as I used to try cases. But I'm not afraid. If you have a feeling that nobody's going to do it as good as you, I think that you're going to have a harder time delegating.
Of course, but let's take that off the table for a second. Let's say you're not afraid of somebody doing it better than you, but just being, and there's a question. Right now you have means and resources. There are points when you're growing your firm where you have an org chart and you have a bunch of seats that are empty that you're filling or somebody else is filling. You slowly over time hopefully fill that out. But what are the thoughts when there are less means and you don't have those resources to bring them in? How do you balance that? You want the stuff off your plate at the same time, forget doing it better than you, but doing it at a level that you're willing to live with until you can rise.
That is the question. Right? When should I hire that HR person? When should I hire that COO? I have stories for all of these things, Seth. Like when I hired John, okay, let's just go through that story. I don't even know if I've ever told this story. I was resisting hiring a 6-figure plus person to come in and do what I was doing. I mean, it was a lot of money at the time. I had about 28 employees. I didn't really understand it. I'm a law firm. I'm going to bring in a non-lawyer to run it. I didn't understand it. It was expensive. I was managing, but not really managing. And then we had a fire and my building basically burnt down. And Gina looked at me and says, okay, so you're going to do everything you're doing and rebuild your building? No. So I went out, I found John pretty easily and quickly. It was a godsend. It was the greatest move I ever made. Hopefully, I wish I would have made it earlier. I wish I would have hired a coach earlier. The one reason I talk so much and I speak so much and I come on podcasts such as yours is I want to spread this word is like, don't wait. If you can afford, if you could bring on somebody, and yeah, you might make less money for a little bit, but once you free up yourself to explore all those great things that you are bottled up in your brain, it's going to skyrocket. But if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to let go of things, if you're not willing to hire that person, if you're not willing to make less money to be able to delegate, then you're never growing. You are going to stay exactly where you are. And I truly believe had I not hired John, I would be at 28 people right now. I'd be making a nice living. But because John came in to free me up, the org chart, me, John, everybody else, maybe like this. And so I can't stress enough, that decision when to bring that next person on, whether it be a managing lawyer, whether it be a person to manage your secretaries and paralegals, whether it be an account, a CFO, massive decisions. Don't take them lightly. But I'm telling you, when you're able to offload 20, 30, 40% of your stuff to a very competent person. Now, this is important, Seth. The competent person, going back to what Andrew Finkelstein said, lives your core values, has been tested and is the right person, gets it, wants it, has the brain capacity to do it. I'm not looking for mediocrity. In fact, I don't hire mediocre players. And if I have a mediocre player, they're not there very long. If you do all the things that you've read in Traction, that you've read in my book, Fireproof, you're not dealing with mediocrity. You're dealing with somebody hopefully better than you.
So one of the things that's scary, right? History is written by the victor, and you've had a great run, and that is awesome. You hired a guy. You say it was too, you wish it was earlier, but who knows? You came and it worked. What are some of the mistakes you see people making, if you have examples or you've seen them, where they've either brought things in, spent money on resources? Can you hire or bring on coaching too soon and burn through valuable capital? Or is it generally the opposite, that the faster that you go and get a COO or a director of finance, what are the things, are there times where people are ahead of the curve from? I know that many people, lawyers generally, are way late. The people picking up your book are like, man, I should have figured out how to slice the bread a long time ago. But looking at the other end, do you see people making the mistake the other way ever?
I have a friend, and she's trying to build her firm fast and furious. And really has never tried a case and never done depositions and whatever, but she's a really smart business mind, and she's bringing on all these people, and she's going to be ahead of the curve. She's going to beat me by 10 or 12 or 14 years. She's literally building it before the clients come. I mean, she's got a lot of clients, but she's doing a really good job. And I'm learning and watching, and I don't have an answer yet, but she's actually bringing in the HR and the CFO and the COO before she actually needed it. And so she hasn't caught up yet, but I'm watching this unfold. I don't think, first of all, you can't bring on a coach too early ever, because there are coaches available in every price range. And so I think that that's a must, is getting some coaching, getting some mentorship. Could be free. I mentor people for free sometimes. And I think that works. And then, you know, when ideally you can afford that new hire. And sometimes it's a stretch, and sometimes you're going to eat less steak and you're going to have to bring on that person. But I think that for us visionaries, Seth, when you free up your energy, you know, Gino calls it hitting the ceiling, right? You and I have so many ideas. We're hitting the ceiling. We can't do it. But then once you remove the ceiling, the sky's the limit. And I've seen people flourish when the bad stuff is taken off their plates. I've seen people flourish. So it's an impossible question to give any extreme accuracy about when to bring on that person, like your original question was. But it's super important to try to get it at the right time. Have a mentor or coach to help you think, is it the right time? Should I bring somebody on? You know, it doesn't hurt to interview, doesn't hurt to put out feelers. Maybe the person will. When I first started hiring good lawyers, I made them take pay cuts coming to me. And now they're making 7+ figures, and it was the best bet of their lives. They bet on me, they bet on my firm, they bet on my vision. So there's a million scenarios where, you know, you don't have to break the bank to delegate.
You know, something you said there, which I'm curious, because I've done some thinking on this. I mean, there's nothing more valuable than mentors, and that's awesome. And a lot have gotten me to where I am. And I am sort of later to the game in the coaching world, and now sort of literally today have somebody over at BluShark spending the day with our whole management team, and it's similar things thanks to you at Price Benowitz. Is there some sort of weird correlation between spending money for that help and the likelihood that you're going to follow through with the success? And it's weird, maybe self-serving question to you because you have a program, but I always, like, I'm a frugal guy, and I figured, hey, I have these great mentors. I should be able to go and get these pieces and put it together. But I have found that there is something about the pain of spending some money on something that you look at it differently, you take the time, you block the time differently, and you take the advice differently than when it's a casual mentor you may have coffee or a Zoom with.
Gino Wickman told us on day one that my average consulting contract is about 1.5 to 2 years. We are now going on our 15th year with him. And it's expensive.
Especially Gino.
I think it's
talking to you or doing a keynote.
It's a daily rate. He doesn't like doing keynotes, but
no, I'm just saying, but
he charges a lot for his keynote. The point is, Seth, I can't stress enough that the reason I have him is to hold us accountable. We would be a lot less. We took a year off. I think 7-8 years ago, we tried it on our own because John Knockhazel runs these meetings for other firms all over the country and does a great job. But there was something nice about having an independent arbiter in the room to hold us accountable when we're deep in the muck and we're stuck. And he calls his bullshit alert, tangent alert is what he actually calls it, when we're just off the rails, and he brings us back home. It's worth the price for me to pay.
No. I can speak to it. I tried myself. I bought the software and the book and had a guy in my office attempt it. And granted, the guy didn't work out at the firm, period, but it is exponentially different when it's somebody outside poking in rather than just trying to do it on the cheap.
when we have a coaching client and they're paying us a lot of money, and we come in every Tuesday at 2:00 to say, okay, let's go through your to-dos. Let's go through what you did this week. They better have done it, because it's a colossal waste of money if they didn't. And if I was the owner and my team wasn't doing these things and didn't get their stuff done, I'd be pissed. But if you're saying no to you or me or somebody else at the firm, then it's a little bit wishy-washy. So look, one reason you have coaches is to hold you accountable. That's it. I mean, and we part of our coaching program, we can do it quarterly, we can do it weekly. It depends on the personality of the person in the firm. If we were for 13 years, or actually 15 years, we do quarterlies with Gino. We don't do weekly. Had I done weekly with Gino, I would have been where I'm at 10 years earlier. And I wish he did offer. He doesn't offer that. So, whoever out there could find weekly coaches, quarterly coaches, hell, you could probably find daily coaches if you got enough money.
Well, let me ask you, because this is like, I get this question in the SEO world, like, what should I watch out for? What in the coaching world? Because look, there's no bar exam. Anybody can raise their hand and be a coach. I mean, you have as we do on the SEO side and you do on the coaching side, you have a track record of having done something, you've modeled it, you've written a book on it. But what are the red flags? Because there are dubious players in every space. What should somebody watch out for in the coaching world?
So there's a few programs out there, not going to name names, but they're not run by lawyers. And they don't have any lawyers working there really. And they're known for other specialties, and they want to get in the coaching business. And some of them, at lower levels work well, and some don't. So we have a lot of people calling us from other coaching programs. And, I would listen, if somebody came to me and said, what should I look for? I would get references. I would get references and talk to the law firm that's similar size. I wouldn't sign a contract. So don't forget, Seth, when John and I agreed to coach, it was reluctantly. The first guy who called me, one of my dear friends now, but I never heard of him. His name is John Gomez out of California. John called me and says, I need you to coach me. I loved your book. It changed my life. I said, John, I'm not a coach. I'm running a law firm. Goodbye. He's a very persistent cat.
He is.
And he's like, no, Michael, I'm serious. Your book, I've been doing this 20 years. It changed my life. I need your help. That was the first time I ever thought about coaching. And I said, okay. And I think 2 years later, his firm is like this because we got him out of his way.
Referral only practice to a marketing juggernaut.
Right. Yes. And he wanted, interesting. Now he's the only client who actually, he loves trying cases, and he's one of the best trial lawyers I've ever seen and heard. He's got some of the best results in the country. And most trial lawyers don't want to do it anymore. He's like, I want you to free me up so I can try cases, so I can help more people, so I can do more good work. And I'm like, okay. And we did. But then most lawyers want to do what I did. And so anyway, because of John, we started offering the coaching. But what I say, when I did that, I said, nobody's ever signing a contract with me. If you don't like what we're giving, we're charging way too much money that if you're not getting great results every week, fire us. We're used to it. But guess what? Many people haven't fired us. People graduate from the program, of course. And we're now starting to offer quarterlies, and we have a video model now that it's on demand, very reasonable price.
Can you tell us about that? Because I think for the people listening, that's going to be more accessible to a lot of the people.
Yeah, it's called fireproofmasterclass.com. That's the website. You can go out. I think it's a couple $1,000s a month, and it's all the tools, but it's video. John and I get on a call once a month, and we answer questions and we talk to people, but it's not weekly. It's not every week for 90 minutes, which is what John and other people get. And we don't make you sign a contract for that. I think there's a 1-year commitment, but if somebody hired us to do a quarterly, Gino taught me at the end of every meeting for 15 years, Seth, he looks at us and says, he looks at me and says, are you going to keep me on for another quarter? Every year, every quarter for 15 years. And anybody who tries to get you to sign a 2-year commitment for a monthly expensive coaching program, that makes me nervous. And because you don't know in 6 months if you're going to like it or not. So you got to check your references, try not to sign a long contract. We're happy to talk to people, but we're not the only coaching program. The only good thing about us, not the only thing. One good thing about us is we've done it. And
that's significant. Meaning that's when I wanted to start a marketing company, the late Stephen Fairley, it was like sitting at a table. It's like, this is your pitch. I've done it for myself. Let me do it for you. And that's essentially what you're saying. I figured out how to do it.
Nobody does it better than you guys. And BluShark is great. And if I recommend you guys all the time for that kind of stuff. And it shows. And so references are key. In that world.
Let me ask you this, and Wayne, I don't want to, really appreciate your time today. You're doing a project with the National Trial Lawyers coming up later in the year, and I figured we at least conclude telling people a little bit about what you have planned for that.
Business of Loss. I think it's the first one. It's I'm looking at my book now. It's mid November. It's the first time they've done this. The first weekend is. The first week, I'm going to find this because I have to. It's November 13th, National Trial Lawyers Business of Law. We're doing the first day is marketing and advertising. I'm going to be there speaking, and as well as a lot of great people. Monday is the Fireproof Day. We're going to have all things Fireproof. My coaches, Bill Biggs is going to be there.
He just came to both my law firm and digital marketing company for a day, and amazing. Rockstar speakers. We're going to play golf the day after. This is our first year of this conference that NTL brought to us, and I think they're selling it out at 200 people. Usually they have 800 people. So I think this is going to sell out really, really quick. I'm excited about it. I love Phoenix. I love Scottsdale. And we're going to have it at the JW Marriott, which is this fabulous Western type hotel. So I hope you come, Seth, and I know you'll be there. Oh, definitely. We're going to be there.
I know you are. And so lots of great vendors, lots of great speakers. That's exciting. Lots of exciting seminars coming up that I'm going to try to get at and speak at and have fun at.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you in person, but have you back here to continue the conversation.
Anytime, Seth. Thanks for having me.